opinion that all of America now has from the Supreme Court. The draft opinion that will radically overturn women's rights in this country. You know, the other day, when the draft opinion had just first come out, one of my colleagues mentioned something that I have since repeated that is a really tragic and shocking statement. But in America, my daughter is going to have fewer rights than I did in 2022. I mean, we have to let that sink in, that the generation that follows us as women will have fewer rights in 2022 as a result of Republican efforts to dismantle a woman's right to determine her own reproductive freedom and her future. And, you know, I want to share with you that I know and understand the challenges with this conversation in a community like ours. I was raised in a very Mexican Catholic family. I went to Catholic schools for most of my life. I am a Catholic. And so I know the profound feelings and emotions that surround the topic and the issue of abortion, especially for people of faith. But I need the community, and I think it's important for America to understand the broader implications of this ruling and of Republican efforts to limit women's reproductive freedom. First and foremost, we have to understand, we'll have a sociologist who will speak more specifically about this issue, but we have to understand that women who do not have access to reproductive health care or to making decisions about their reproductive future are far more likely to live in poverty or be sent into poverty as a result. They are far more likely to have limitations on educational attainment. They are far more likely, if they are in an abusive relationship, to be forced to stay in an abusive relationship. And there are innumerable other consequences. These are consequences that won't just be felt by the woman. These are consequences that will be felt by children, by families, and especially by communities like our own. In El Paso, we are doing everything possible. I can tell you, leaders and partners, myself included, we are doing everything possible to end generational poverty. We are doing everything possible to increase access to education. We are doing everything possible to uplift our families and give them a fighting chance at prosperity. But when you force a woman to make really one of three decisions, you are changing her life forever. What are those three decisions and those three few options that a woman has if this ruling actually becomes law of the land? Number one, women in states like ours will have to travel out of state in order to have access to reproductive freedom. So that means only women of means will be able to do that. But for those women of means who feel that they are safe, just know the Republican playbook is to outlaw abortion in every single state in the United States of America. So it is only a matter of time before they're coming for you as well. What's the second option? The second option is to seek unsafe avenues to terminating pregnancies. Going back to the days when women risked their lives for back alley abortions. And so that is a real risk and a real reality for women. And those first two, before I talk about the last reality, those first two, I want folks to understand that abortion is not going away. Abortion will never go away. No government can eliminate abortion. What governments do, and what this Supreme Court ruling would do, and what Republicans are trying to do, is eliminate access to safe and legal abortions. So those first two, really risky for women. The third is forcing women to carry an unwanted pregnancy to term, including pregnancies that are the result of rape or incest or that put the mother's life at risk. I heard an incredibly moving story yesterday from someone I care about deeply who shared her experience about her abortion. And she's a devoted mother. Devoted mother does not get any more committed to family than this mother, who had a pregnancy and had to terminate late in her pregnancy after she and her family had a crib, had made plans, had set out a future for this baby that she and her family really wanted. And she discovered that the baby was not viable late into her pregnancy. And she had to make a terrible decision between risking her life and leaving her children motherless and giving birth to an unviable baby or terminating that pregnancy. And I will tell you that story and a number of other stories I have heard from women underscores for me how incredibly unjust this effort is, how it belittles women and the way that women look to their future and the way that women view their own families. I'm here to tell you that I trust women. I trust women to make decisions with their doctors about what's in their best interest for their health, for their family, and for their future. One last thing that I want to say, and then I'm going to introduce our incredible guest speakers today. But make no mistake about it, this Supreme Court draft decision is not just about a woman's right to reproductive freedom. Despite what Justice Alito has said, we are now about to embark on a very slippery slope of people's civil rights in this country, especially around our right to privacy. We are, I believe, about to see the unraveling of decades of battles of people fighting for fundamental human and civil rights in this country. And when Justice Alito tells you to believe him, just know that he and the majority on the court have no integrity. They have literally shredded any integrity that the Supreme Court had. If this draft decision is in fact the ultimate decision, then we have Supreme Court justices who lied to the Senate, who lied to the public, who lied under oath. We already know that one of our Supreme Court justices is closely tied to the insurrection that serves to undermine our democracy. So please take what Justice Alito and the majority say about promising that they will continue to erode your rights, take it with a grain of salt. Because their word is meaningless. Their word is meaningless. I now want to introduce, we are so fortunate. Thank you, Aaliyah and Sophia, for your incredible courage and your powerful voices here today. Thank you both so much. I'm going to end with this, and then we can do one-on-ones so that you all can get some, whatever you might need in terms of specific questions. But I'm going to end with this. The Senate Democrats, well, first, let me say, in the House, because we have a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives, we passed a bill called WIPA, the Women's Healthcare Protection Act. I am a proud co-sponsor of the Women's Healthcare Protection Act. It essentially codifies Roe v. Wade and protects women and women's reproductive freedom. The Senate does not have the votes to pass WIPA. We know this because Senate Republicans are unanimously opposed to our legislation. There are two Senate Republicans, both women, looking for a narrower path, working with Senate Democrats. But I can guarantee you that that bill too will fail. How do I know this? Because Republicans in Congress, what they want is to ensure their iron grip over women. And they want control. That's ultimately what this is about. When you look at Republicans in Congress, and I will tell you, I refuse to refer to them as pro-life because nothing could be further from the truth. When we have asked them to pass our legislation, Democratic legislation, that would provide for paid family and medical leave so that mamas, after giving birth, could be home to nurse their babies, bond with their babies, and take care of their babies, Republicans voted against that. When we passed legislation that would provide access to childcare for mamas so that they could go to work and provide for their families and those babies, Republicans, every Republican voted against that. When we asked Republicans to support our work and legislation we passed to provide universal pre-K for these babies who would then become young children, every Republican voted no. Are these people who care about the dignity and sanctity of life? Absolutely not. These are individuals who stand against access to health care and the safety net that mamas and babies need. So I have no doubt, unfortunately, that Senate Republicans will vote down even a narrower bill. And again, for those who think that they are safe, they are coming after you as well. They have made it clear, they have said it very explicitly, and should Republicans win the House and the Senate in the November midterms, they will absolutely have the power to execute their vision for America, which is very different from one where people have access to civil and human rights. So with that, again, thank you all so much for being here. Really grateful. And I do think it is so incredibly important that the public understand that this really is about what kind of future we want for our community, for our families, and for our country. Thank you all.